Okay, so this might be an odd one coming from us, but considering we've only done one of these, and that was for a Naruto movie, but here we are again with another movie review impressions thingy,
Theatrical releases.
3-ish weeks late, and it's fine. For the movie Your Name, Kimi no Nawa, and my God, this movie it's a movie.
It is a movie.
And I don't say this often because usually I think it's sort of bullshit, but I realize this is coming out a little post mortem. But this is a movie that, if at all possible, needs to be experienced in theaters.
Yeah. Frankly, there are a lot of anime movies that are great when you actually watch them live in theaters. I mean, I reviewed it fucking earlier tonight. This is weird. I'm recording reviews for two anime movies back to back, but Battle of Gods was fantastic in theaters.
Yes,
When you actually watch it with the effects and the explosions, awesome stuff.
Battle of Gods is a great movie. Resurrection of F is not.
It's still good, but it's not as good as Battle of Gods. I maintain that.
It's a decent movie, but it's not a movie you need to see in the theaters for. I maintain that could be that could easily be like a Toonami promotional movie or something.
Yeah, I might as well just watch it on in Super. But anyway, we're getting off topic.
They're pretty much like one of three ways I view a movie. Movie that needs to be seen actually on the screen, like this, and like a couple others, or if possible, on like a 50 or 60-inch TV if you can manage that, or projector as it were. The movies that you should just watch on an actual TV in general, just to get a bigger picture and be able to enjoy that, and the movies that you basically can get away with just watching on like a laptop or a screen or like a T or like a regular computer screen, because it's like they're okay, they're good, but like you don't need to go out of your way to for the best possible experience to see this movie. And
Yeah,
if you're doing anything short of the 50 to 60-inch TV screen for this, you're doing yourself a disservice, honestly, because the director of this movie is famous worldwide for making some of the most beautiful animated movies ever, and
yeah.
that's going well above and beyond Disney.
Yeah, this shit was easily matching Studio Ghibli movies, if not exceeding some of them in terms of sheer art style. Like, goddamn.
Yes. uh, I've been hearing about the director Makoto Shinkai for about 15 years, and I haven't. This might sound blasphemous to some of you, but this is the first movie by him that I've ever seen, and pardon me, I am definitely working on changing that. If I can find a copy, I'm going to buy one of his next most renowned movies, 5 centimeters per second, which some people like to call 5 wallpapers per second.
Oh man.
That should speak to its beauty.
Yeah, I know I've heard the name before, but I'm not familiar with the movie itself.
I've heard of some of his other movies, like Garden of Words and Children Who Chase Lost Voices. I've heard about them. I've heard great things, but I don't know too much about them, so I'll look into those later. But but this is someone I hold on the same, at least for this one movie, hold in the same vein as Miyazaki or Mamoru Hosoda, the director of Summer Wars, The Girl Who Got Through Time, One Piece Movie 6, Baron Matsuri, and The Secret Island, which that movie was a trip.
Yeah, flowers. Got it. Okay.
So it's like, I probably shouldn't be going this long, but I want to preface this movie with some stuff. It's been with that, and that the movie's been out in Japan for, I think, some of it 6 months. I think it came out in August, and it was actually being, as far as I know, from what I've heard, it was actually being dubbed before it was actually done being animated.
Huh. Interesting.
When it was being shopped around to studios to dub it, it was like, we want you to buy this movie from us. From us to get it out as quickly as we can, while being as great as we possibly can. Okay, can we see it? No.
Oops.
We want you to buy this movie from us on the premise that we're amazing, and we're also not finished yet.
Gotta be preemptive about that shit, I suppose. Why not?
The guy's got a reputation. I don't necessarily blame them for it, but yeah, I've seen some interviews with Stephanie Sheh and Michael Sinter-Nicholas, the two leads, as well as the two directors.
Mm.
That is one particularly funny directing pair because they're on a lot of California projects of late. Like they have directed ever since 2010. They have directed together every Gundam series that's come out in America.
God damn, really?
Unicorn, Orphans, Origins, and Thunderbolt.
Damn, I'll have to look at the credits for Thunderbolt next time I look at it. Or, not Thunderbolt. I need to watch it anyway, though. Iron Blood Orphans.
Yeah. So they're really good, and they also play the two leads, and they're amazing. But we're getting to that. So the funny thing about this was that before it actually came to, or before it actually had proper theatrical screenings, it had some promotional screenings before, in particular areas at conventions, at like a Hollywood premiere and whatnot. But what was really funny is that apparently you could watch this as an in-flight movie on certain flights across the U.S.
Oh my god, okay.
before it even come to theaters.
Maybe it's just me, but I would actually be kind of adverse to the idea of being in a cabin at 37,000 feet with the idea that there might be comets overhead. No, thank you.
Okay, we'll get to that, but it's like that. That goes part and parcel with being a disservice. You don't want to watch a movie of this quality, of this beauty and grace, on a screen.
Yeah, on like a 12-inch screen, no.
On like a 6-inch screen that's coming out of the back of someone's headrest. You don't want to do that. That is a disservice to you. That's a disservice to the movie, and it will hamper your enjoyment of the movie. I've heard tales of people that had seen it as an in-flight movie that they loved the story, but they couldn't get a whole lot out of the visuals because of how small the screen was.
Not only that, but if you're trying to listen to it on headphones, your ears are going to be popped because of the cabin pressure already. So
yeah,
you're not going to get the best optimal sound experience either from that.
Yes, it probably goes without saying, but on a flight, it's probably the worst way to experience this movie.
Yeah, either visual or audio. No, thanks. I would just go with the fucking 55, 60-inch TV route and get yourself some good speakers if you can afford it.
I'd have never understood the concept of in-flight movies or in-flight TV. If someone's going to want to watch something, they probably have a laptop or a DVD player they brought with them.
Usually if I'm doing that, it's because I just put something down because the battery's low or something, and I'm just like flipping around watching like the, I don't know, fucking Daily Show, or I found something of interest on National Geographic. I have found interesting things on National Geographic in flight before. It's interesting. River Monster, really good show actually. Anyway.
Don't in-flight movies charge you?
Yeah, I don't watch the movies. I just watch the free TV. Although I always fly to Red Eye, so I always find shit. God damn it, parents. Ugh.
Hey, at least you're not flying United.
JetBlue, motherfuckers.
At any rate, so this movie is interesting because it's like I may have heard of it, but have you ever actually seen the series Baccano?
Oh shit. That's the gangster one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you've shown me a couple things for it before. I've seen a couple clips before, and I know it looks good. That's the one that was by the guys who made okay, it's either one of the other series, by the guys who made or animated Samurai Champloo, but they got shut down. Is that them, or is that someone else?
Someone else.
Okay, never mind then. But yeah, no, that series does look pretty fun. I just gotta backlog, but
okay.
Yeah, no, it does look pretty good.
So Baccano is a series that's told out of order. It's the story takes place between the years of 1929 and it was either 31 or 33. There's a bunch of different events happening in different places all across the U.S., and they're told again at different times, cutting back and forth. You'll never entirely know when or where something is happening, and you could theoretically cut it into a way that is lined up chronologically, but that kind of removes the fun of it. This movie is told in a similar fashion, where it's cutting back and forth in time and in location, and it's really weird when you're watching it for the first time and you're not sure what's going on and why it keeps cutting. And the opening of the movie doesn't really help when they're showing you some scenes from almost the end of the movie.
Yeah, that was just kind of like a, well, it was basically just like a pseudo fever dream until things really started kicking into motion.
Before the movie starts proper, the first minute of it is a scene of the main girl Mitsuha standing out in the field, looking up into the sky during the festival when a certain thing happens, and then after that is when it cuts to her waking up, and that
Oh, I thought it opened directly with them on the trains, or my or I don't know.
uh,
The opening was kind of all over the place.
no, it opens up with her staring at the sky. As far as I remember, it opens up with her staring at the sky doing the festival, and then it cuts to the opening, and then she's waking up.
All right.
And that scene, that first scene of her kind of waking up, what her in quotes waking up, is hysterical as it kind of sets up the lighter tone of the entire movie.
Yeah. Oops.
So I'm gonna say this relatively upfront. This is a body swapping movie. There's a main girl and there is a main guy, and in their dreams, they switch places. They switch bodies, but they're still themselves on. They're the person on the outside, but they're still like them on the inside. So it's like they're in a completely different place, a completely foreign, completely different body. And of course, it's hysterical. One of the first hurdles they both face is learning how to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
And but it's hysterical though the way it opens up on the male Taki. He wakes up in the girl's body, and the first thing he starts doing is he starts groping her. And
This is way too real to be virtual reality.
it's way too realistic. And her little sister walks in on her like every time to wake her up, and it never stops. You think it would get old, but it never stops being funny the entire movie.
Yeah.
That's a recurring gag that comes up about 5 or 6 times. And then it goes on with the struggle of them getting ready in the morning, using the bathroom, getting to school, and not knowing anything about the lives that each other is leading.
Yeah, it's not just because they're swapping genders either. They're in literally entirely different biomes when they're doing it.
One of them is in a mountain country area. One of them is in the middle of, was it Tokyo or was it Shibuya?
I want to say it was Tokyo.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the most interesting interpretations of modern Tokyo I think I've seen in anime in a long time.
Yeah, it was definitely something else.
Because a lot of the times it's either like it's bland, the city is bland, or it's boring, or it's disgustingly overcrowded, or whatnot. This is one of the only times where I've actually seen this level of appreciation for the city and for modernity. Because a lot of times it's like either I want to get away from it all, or it's boring, or it's bland, or I hate the city. So it's weird to see that much appreciation for it. I understand why, because like they're coming from two very, very different extremes, and sorry, I'm trying to follow a train of thought, and I'm losing myself.
Yeah, I'm trying not to speak right now because I know your train of thought's going somewhere with this.
I'm trying to, but I keep losing. It's worth mentioning actually that this is it's been about 2 weeks since we've seen the movie. I wanted to do this a little sooner, but the idea didn't
strike home until just recently.
Because I've been thinking about this movie nonstop ever since we saw it, but the idea to actually do this didn't strike me until like just last week.
Yeah. Then you're like, "Are you doing anything later this week?" I'm like, "No." You want to do a movie review? I'm like, okay, sure, why not? I mean, honestly, I could go for that. This movie hasn't been occupying my head that much recently, but it's definitely left a good impression with me. So I'm fully willing to talk about it.
I need to.
If I could say something about that, actually.
What?
So my impressions going into it, I know we're like fucking 15 minutes into this. I haven't given my impressions about it yet. I've kind of been remaining silent.
Sorry.
So when you offered me to go watch this movie, I think at most I saw just like the promotional art, and I heard hype about some movie in Japan that was doing amazingly. So I'm like, uh, sure, why not? I had no expectations going in. You told me it was a. I think your description of it was a slice of life slash like romantic comedy. I think it was.
I think. Well, see, the thing is, I'd only ever seen the one trailer because Funimation put out the trailer saying that they were going to be releasing it. And one thing that I find annoying that Funimation does when they're promoting a release is they'll put out like somewhere between like 3 and 15 clips of a show or a movie or something they're releasing. And it's like, I get the idea that you want to highlight some cool scenes and whatnot, but it's like just leave people with only a little bit to go off of, and then make the mystery of what the rest about what the rest of your product is be enough to sell it. You don't need to show them the entire thing. You can pretty much spoil an entire series or movie or whatnot before it's even out because that will drive some people away from something.
Yeah, the only real thing I knew about this movie was a bunch of Facebook videos being shared by, I want to say Conrad shared it, about how this movie was breaking all sorts of records for most bought anime movie of all time, or while it was in theaters. So that was my knowledge. I'm like, okay, sure, I got time to kill. Sure, let's go for it.
Well, I sent you a trailer also. The first base. I don't know if you actually watched it or not. I don't think I ever asked you if you watched it, but I sent you the trailer asking if you wanted to see that movie next week.
I might have looked at it, but honestly, I didn't. And I honestly don't mind that. Going into movies blind, let alone anime movies, that I'm like, dude, sure, totally, fuck it. I enjoy doing shit like that, especially when I hear nothing but good things about it.
Yes,
and needless to say, I walked away relatively impressed. One thing I can say is I thought I predicted like at least 6 times throughout the movie it was like gonna end pretty soon, or at least it was gonna end on a similar note. But no, it just kept fucking going.
So
that was impressive.
So that's the funny thing is this isn't even a very long movie. It's longer than your typical anime movie. A typical anime movie almost never goes over 90 minutes unless it actually is being touted as a full length feature film, like an original. It's like if it's a movie based off of a series, based off of an existing property, it typically never goes over an hour and a half.
Yeah, I want to say this was like close to 2 hours, something like that.
Yeah, it was an hour and 45 minutes, I think it was.
Man, I don't remember if it felt that long, or if, at times it actually just blew by. It was crazy with how the pacing went.
So that was the funny thing is that the stuff is that it really sets you in the atmosphere. I'm sorry, of the location. The scenes out in the country are really slow, and that's intentional because like it's world building. It wants you to get into the nature, into the area, and the culture and everything that's happening here. Oh, you okay?
Yep, I'm back.
Okay. They want to get you into the culture. They want to get you into the atmosphere that this is a slow town. Not a lot really happens. Everything that's happening here is, how do I put it?
A very sleepy town.
Yeah, everything. We're cultured. We're very traditional. We do things now as we did 100 years ago, as we do 1,000 years ago, as we will No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop.
I wouldn't say it's down the sticks, but it's definitely locked in some greenery all around it, and it's well away from Tokyo as later established.
Yeah, and everything. I wouldn't say that all the scenes in Tokyo go by super fast, although in the beginning they certainly do. Seeing Mitsuha in Taki's body on that first couple of days goes by at a breakneck speed.
Oh, yeah, dude. If it lasted like even 5 or 10 minutes, it did not feel like it. It felt like 30 seconds.
It felt like it was only like 3 to 5 minutes. Just seeing, just like the glimpse in the morning of waking up, the like maybe 30 seconds to a minute that they spent in the school, and then maybe 2 or 3 minutes they spend at his work at the restaurant when she was first getting friendly with Okudera, the waitress.
Yeah.
That went by like nothing else.
I feel like in that regard, it actually completely succeeded in trying to capture the bustling life of an actual city.
That's what I was saying. It really gets you into the atmosphere. Everything in the city is so fast. It's happening all the time. if you don't keep up, you're gonna fall behind. So it goes by
Yeah.
super fast. Whereas out in the country, it's calm, it's slow, it's relaxed. You can afford to take your time with things, and so a lot of those scenes were longer. But that's also because they were explaining and setting up for a lot of things that happen later.
Yeah.
Like any of the scenes with the grandmother, I found really interesting because it's like I don't immediately remember if they explain what the significance of the cords were, the rope. That's
Um, I was paying attention to that. They didn't actually go into detail about until like at least midway through the movie when they were actually going to like the backstory about like the priest people in that house. At the start, it was just kind of like a symbolic thing. But yeah,
Yeah, because like the most I imagine that we're going for, which it's I've seen this in a lot of series. I assume they were just going for that was Mitsuha's ribbon is red. The bracelet that Taki wears is red. It's made out of the same material. You find out later that it's the same cord, but it's like it's red. So are they doing the red string of fate, the red string that connects people, that connects lovers? And it's like they sort of are, but they never explicitly state that. And I kind of like it better that way because it's like it's implied rather than outright stated. It could be that, it might not be. You don't know.
yeah, I thought that actually was really clever. I mean, I got the whole string of fate thing, but I didn't know how far they're gonna go with that. I didn't know it was actually gonna be important until later on.
Yeah. Um, her hair is also actually very important in the movie as well.
Yeah, who'd have thought that? Who'd have thought the ribbon would actually be such a big player in the not even just like the grand scheme of things, but like just little stuff like actually showing you like who's currently in Mitsuha's body.
Yeah, and the way it's also really important how differently they act when they're in each other's body because it's like they're trying relatively to maintain appearances. Uh, so one joke that doesn't necessarily come across as well in English, I made sure to watch this scene in Japanese, was the first time where Mitsuha in Taki's body is talking to her two friends from school, where where the first time she actually starts talking to them, there's this bit where she goes through the three different pronouns that a male uses to address themselves as I, because in Japanese it's like there's one there's a childish way or there's a feminine way that someone would say I. There's a childish way that someone might say it, and then there's an actual adult way of saying it, and they go through it three times. And it's funny in Japanese because you understand that context with the language. In English, I forget what they do exactly, but it doesn't come across as well. Because she has to remember that she's still in the body. She has to remember that she's still in the body of a male, of especially of one that's also nearing adulthood. So that would talk with a bit more forcefulness. That would talk a bit more louder, a bit more forceful, as it were.
Yeah.
And it's like that. That's important because it's like she has to remember that she's still in the body of a boy, and so to a relative extent, she has to speak like a boy, has to sort of act like one, if for no other reason than to make sure than to not blow her own cover. And see, that's funny is that she gets that relatively. Taki in Mitsuha's body is hysterically different. He doesn't care almost.
No tact.
Not even just the waking up scenes, but the way he deals with others is pretty hysterical. Like from the moment that he first meets Teshi, it's like they're bros from the word go.
Yeah.
And it's like he, true to form, having no tact. Like there's some bits in the scenes in one of the classrooms where someone's talking behind her back about the thing about how she is bad or evil or something because her father, the mayor, is running for re-election. He is trying to get all the dirty money and whatnot. And so it's like, wow, that must reflect really that makes her look so bad because she's connected to him. And it's like whereas normally she would have just ignored it or been mildly upset about it. No, he in her body just completely kicks down the canvas that they were painting on and say like, you cut that shit out.
Yeah, I like that scene a lot.
What I find really funny though is that somehow they managed to give, when they were in each other's body, they managed to get other people to start falling for them when they were in each other's body. Because Mitsuha in Taki's body got Okudera to start falling for him, And when Taki was in Mitsuha's body, he got like 4 girls to confess to her.
Yeah.
Which was, it's so funny how they can't manage their own lives worth of shit, but when they're playing as someone else, they can get a line of people behind them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's not. Sorry, I'm not.
Train of thought lost so hard right now.
Sorry, it's hard to follow something like up like that. I'm not really used to doing this when I'm not looking directly at something. But I'm doing this for the game. I have a well-defined train of thought. I'm looking directly at something.
Yeah, no, I have the same problem with trying to do something like that. Also, with even just announcement videos, it's a bit of a pain in the ass.
But one thing that I also thought was really funny, what was really interesting, was that everyone always said that Taki was really brash and dumb, and he always picked a lot of fights with people. But whenever you saw him in either body, he actually seemed like one of the most polite people. Seemed incredibly like polite. And so it's like, where does that come from? And you only ever see him get into fights or get angry with people when he's in Mitsuha's body.
Yeah.
And I thought that was... It's weird, because it's like, you're told a bunch of stuff about a character, and it's like, you're waiting to see that, but you never actually see it in the form you're expecting.
Yeah, for the most part, Taki and Mitsuha's body, it was just... Whenever I was seeing that, where in retrospect, I just think of Ryoko from Kill la Kill, funny enough, with just a sheer tomboy 180. Yeah.
I don't quite think it's Ryuko and Satsuki, but sure.
Not quite that level, but the same level like tomboy that Ryuko has.
You know, I just had a terrible idea.
Oh boy.
Draw from near the end of the series. Draw Taki and Mitsuha with their respective senkets and whatever the other costume was. The one that Satsuki wore, because that one was alive too, right?
Yeah, Junketsu.
Yeah, that one when they switched near the end of the series and they were wearing the other one's costume.
Yeah.
Do that, but do that for like for Taki. Sorry, I'm trying really hard, and it's one thing that was I know it's a plot point that comes up later, but it's like as soon as they find out, they start trying to communicate with each other, but it's like they start doing the writing on their hands or writing on their face and whatnot to get back at each other. But it's like it takes them a really long time to think of, oh, let's text each other, let's try to actually communicate with each other, and it's not until at least like an hour in. I don't think that they ever get the idea to call each other. You find
and when they did try to call each other, they were both out of cell servers at each other's individual points. Oops.
It's like I get that was a plot point, but you'd think that if this was this important to them, that they would have started saying something or trying to communicate a bit more clearly a lot sooner.
Yeah.
You'd think they would have tried to talk about this out loud as soon as humanly possible.
Yeah, in order to quickly resolve what the hell is going on, instead of just keeping journal/diary entries.
Yeah. Sorry. It's funny that they do both actually keep that, because this might just be anecdotal, but I've never known anyone to actually keep records or diaries or anything like that. So I always find it weird weird in movies and shows when people actually do.
My mom does. I did for a little while, but yeah, I kind of just quickly dropped it.
One thing that I wasn't entirely at first sure where it was going was the ceremony back in the country village, where they're doing where they're creating the sake, and that leads to a really funny scene later on. But it's like, where is this going? Like, I understand that this is ritual and whatnot, but usually, because this takes a very, very long time to come to fruition, and it's like I get that I get that she doesn't like being. I get that she doesn't like being in the country, but it's like this doesn't feel that particularly unpleasant. It's slow, it's dull, it's boring, but it's like there's nothing particularly too bad about this that would make
Hmm.
you. Because typically, when I see people want to leave somewhere, it's like they're in a really, really bad situation. They're in a really bad spot. It's not typically just because they're bored of something, or they just don't like the area.
Well, considering the scene right after that, she's basically yelling at this guy that she wants out of that place. Yeah, must have been something.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to think think of something, but it's like I'm going back and forth in my head over a bunch of different scenes all at once.
So funny enough, we're already half hour in. So if you want to like start breaking out some of the spoilers, we can.
Did they? Well, it's hard to touch on some stuff because it's like, as far as I know, they don't ever outright, and this is probably intentional. They don't explain how they're going back and forth in time, how, how that happens, how they're doing the switch in the first place.
Or why they're jumping through time to begin with, like these two separate individuals at this. Yeah, the specifications are kind of bizarre.
Because like there's a scene later. Pardon me. There's a scene later on where Taki is talking to the grandmother, and the grandmother she says something to the something to the extent of, oh, I've known that you weren't necessarily her the entire time, but I didn't know who you were. And she says that way back in her youth that she was also switching places too. And I think she also said something about the mother. I could be wrong about that. Also switching places, and it's like, is this something that's directly related to this family? Is it something that's directly related to the area? Is it something that just happens every so often?
No, I actually did pick up on that. They did specifically say that it happened to all the priests and priestesses of that shrine.
Okay, but
Yeah, and it had to do with the that rock out there being like the I don't remember if it exactly specifically referred to like some sort of like time boundary or like the death or something, but yeah, it definitely had to do with that and the upkeeping of it.
and so God damn it.
You weren't lying when you said you were thinking about it all week. So much shit.
I have a video of the movie pulled up now, and I'm just trying to think pull back and forth between some scenes, and it's really hard. Do I want to talk about this, or
All
this
right.
other thing?
So we mentioned the whole time traveling thing. That was definitely brought up after the big thing with the comet. So let's just talk about that part for a second. Right when we get to the whole one of the climaxes, there's a few of them in this movie actually. The fucking comet flying overhead somehow split apart and nuked the place. And it was in that moment I look over to Brandon and I'm like, did this movie just become Final Fantasy VII? That was a very, very surreal moment for the both of us, I believe.
Yes, I'll give
Yeah.
I'll give the credit movie for this. At least it is fantastic at foreshadowing because it shows the bit with in the festival with the comet splitting at the beginning of the movie, and they tell you, and it's something you might miss. But whenever you're in her house and there's like the TV in the corner is playing during breakfast or something, the news will be playing and it says that the comet will be here in about 5 days, and you'll be able to see it at this angle from this place. And it's like because the movie takes place over is it a couple of days or is it a couple of weeks?
Um, I almost want to say it was actually a couple of months
Uh,
that they were actually doing the body jumping, but the body jumping, I think they said either stopped outright at a certain point or it became less and less
yeah,
as the comet approached.
yeah. They said it was becoming less frequent, and then after a certain point, it just stopped, and they didn't understand why.
Yeah, I want to say at some point they actually gave a number. It was like 2 to 3 times a week they switched.
Yeah, but so it's like anytime in the morning they had that TV on, it was saying that the comet is approaching. It'll be here in this many days, and it's something that you wouldn't really think about. But like you're thinking if you actually are paying attention to that, I imagine most people aren't. Like you're thinking, oh, cool, that's going to be a neat set piece. That's going to be a wallpaper later when they finally do meet up or something. Like they're gonna kiss under the stars or under the comet or something. No,
Yeah, at most I was thinking it was just gonna be this is where the magic is gonna happen. After this, they're gonna stop body switching. Oh boy.
well, you're not entirely wrong.
Well, yeah, not entirely inaccurate.
I think this is one of the hardest 180s I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, I actually struggle to think of some other scene in anime that actually comes close to either that abrupt screeching halt and flipping the train around, or just complete tonal shift of it. That was crazy. Not even just the fucking mood shift, but the entire story shifted on its head.
I think I might be able to actually offer one.
Shoot.
The revelation of Venom Snake.
Okay, I meant anime, but
Right,
yeah,
sorry.
you could totally do that. Or the Patriots from Metal Gear Solid 2 if we want to go easy mode on that one.
Right. I'm not saying that's more impactful, but yeah, this is because like I've seen twists before in anime and in movies and whatnot. Some pretty dumb, some pretty great. There's some that you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I need to take a minute. And it's like you're watching a movie and you're watching it in theaters. You can't stop for anything. This is the sort of thing where I imagine most people, if they are watching it like in their own home, it's like they're gonna pause for a few minutes, take a deep breath, maybe walk outside, smoke, and then come back.
Yeah, it was funny. I mentioned before that I thought this movie was going to stop at least 6 times throughout it, but we're slightly before the comments swinging by. I thought that was going to be that was the first time I thought there was going to be a stopping point. And after that, I kept going. I'm like, oh boy, and maybe it's just me, but I mean, I did like the comedy that and some of the character development that's going on before this, but after that point, I was just like, holy shit, we are. It became such a delved into a lot of backstory and lore with what this shit happened, all that. I was like, damn, this information though was actually really good. Holy crap, in terms of like actually putting in perspective while it's happening. And then it's only just built and built and actually get to the crash. I'm like, oh my god, this place got decimated.
Yeah, that was so. Well, that's interesting. Actually, you say how many times you thought it was gonna. You thought that this movie might have ended on a cliffhanger. Do you think it would have gotten a sequel, or do you think it would have just sort of ended?
No, what I mean by like endpoints, I mean like at times that after a major thing happens or before a major thing happens, I think it's gonna the movie, because I'm not keeping track of time. I don't actually know how long this movie is. I'm thinking it's gonna stop at a certain point, and then it keeps going
Right.
6 times for me at least. So then when he gets to the crash site, I'm thinking that he's gonna like talk to her spirit or something, and she's gonna die. I'm like, okay, that's probably gonna be in the end of the movie. Nope, we're doing the body switching again.
I don't even know how that one happened. I want to say by that point she was already dead.
Well, I meant like, well, I guess I can understand because like the dude went well out of his way in order to actually like find what the hell happened with the.
Okay, hold on. Sorry,
I'm gonna guess like what?
sorry. I think we do need to clarify something because we've been sort of dancing around it. Is the comet ends up splitting and a small fragment of it ends up crashing into the mountain village, and it destroys the entire village. Like,
I thought I already clarified that part earlier. Oh well, now you know it. It's totally on the open.
well, but if he did, I'm sorry for repeating it. But it's like, was it 300 or was it 500 people died?
God, I want to say it was something around 500 at least.
And it's like, it hits you like a truck, or
Yeah.
I guess like a meteor rather. It's like, whoa, and you don't find out at all until Taki after the swaps have stopped, and he's trying to go to find her. He's on the hunt to find where this village is because he doesn't know where it is. He doesn't know what it's called. He just, I think it was he found in a book somewhere a picture of it that didn't have a name, and so it's like he's drawing it, or he's drawing from memory, and he's trying to find wherever that could be. And he's on the search, and he doesn't
Yeah.
find out relatively until him and his two buddies end up getting to a diner. And it doesn't hit you until afterwards, where it's like he walks up to the edge of a cliff, and it pans up, and it's just a crater like 5, 6, 10 miles long.
Well, no, he did find out at some point earlier that he looked up the comet's crash site and what the hell happened that night, and I think that was how he found someone told him that this town was decimated, but he didn't know where the hell it was, so he couldn't go find out for himself. Ouch.
That's life.
Yeah, that hit you like a comet.
And he just starts having a complete breakdown when he sees it. And frankly, I think I would too. Is
Knowing that you weren't just switching bodies, but you were jumping through fucking time, and you are the witness of a crash site of a fucking celestial body. Yeah, that's devastation for you.
oh my god.
That there was, it's scary just how thoroughly that town was totaled afterwards.
I'm amazed. This might sound like a bit much, but I'm kind of amazed there was even a mountain left behind.
No, you're not the only one. I'm like, damn, that lake got a lot bigger, a lot bigger.
Because that's the funny thing is, not even as a result of jumping back and forth in time, but like it's really difficult to place certain things on a map. Because like early on in the movie, when the girls are still alive, there's a scene where Yotsuha, Mitsuha, and the grandmother go to this other crater area where the giant stone thingy is, where they go underground to leave the fermented sake for the future. And it's like, okay, well, where is this? Because like it's beyond the mountain, but how far out is it? They're walking the entire time, so it can't be more than a couple of hours away. I don't think. I don't think I ever saw them with a bike or a car or anything. Is it beyond the mountain? And if so, which side? And if it is relatively that close, then why wasn't it, or at least part of it, also decimated when the comet hit? If it was close enough to be within a day's walking distance.
I'm willing to bet that is because it was actually pretty well isolated away from it. I think there actually was a good amount of distance because, like you said, it did require at least a bike ride up to it. I'm gonna guess that because it was in a mountain, it was like in a sort of like a plateau, sort of like lowered inwards. That if nothing else, the walls protected it. I'm gonna guess from the trajectory. I don't know, nerd talk here, but you know.
Yeah, and also right. Sorry, I'm kind of losing myself again.
But I just want to quickly say that from there, Taki's hunt to actually find Mitaha at the crash site was honestly probably one of my favorite parts of the movie. Actually, no, the whole post crashing to Taki actually finding the shrine, that was probably one of my favorite parts of the movie because the lore that was being built up and the rising tension was super fascinating to actually watch in real time, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then when they were also when him, his friend, and Okudera were also doing their research when they got to another town or wherever their hotel was. I think they were looking through a library in their hotel, or they were Googling it or whatnot, finding out what the hell happened, how long ago it was, how many people, and just his heart sank to his shoes when he saw that her family were among the victims.
Her name herself too, yeah.
Yes. And it's just seeing him rushing and trying to find any way to get over to the mountain where to the plateau where the sake is left is it's heart-wrenching because like he's running through a storm. He's gonna get sick. He finds some help, thankfully, but it's like he's going so far above and beyond just to find any last trace of her, to make sure that he's not insane, to make sure that he wasn't dreaming at all in the first place.
Finding even remote proof that actually did happen, yeah.
Finding any proof that she even exists, because like he knows that he knows because he saw them in the books that said that she was dead. But it's like he also needs proof that she existed in the first place. Because at this point he's starting to doubt if she was even real in the first place.
Yeah.
One thing that I felt was kind of a lost opportunity was there's this guy you see a couple of times in some of the scenes leading up. It's the guy that's standing outside of the crash site when they first get there, and I think he was in the diner too. And he comes up later as the guy that's driving the truck that's driving him up the mountain. And you find out later that he was a teacher or someone that worked in the school. And due to their adverse relationship, I thought it would have actually been much better, much more compelling if that man was actually Mitsuha's father, because you find out multiple times over the movie that they have a pretty strained relationship. And especially
I think when you put it like that, yeah, that actually would have been a pretty good twist out of nowhere.
because it's like it doesn't really serve much of a purpose to just have it be someone from the school. You want it to be, if you're going to make that person even minorly important or even show up more than once, you want them to be someone that's actually relatively, at least on some level, connected to the story.
Yeah.
Uh, and what uh sorry.
No, it's okay. But I will just chime in while you're piecing out together that holy crap, him actually drinking the sake and actually being able to leap back through time one more time in order to actually get into Mizuha's body was, God, that was heart wrenching for me.
Yeah, and because it's like he knows everything that's going on. He doesn't know how or when. Well, he doesn't know how or when things are going to happen, but he knows it's coming on a certain day, and so he needs to do. He's trying his best to save not only her and her family, but he's trying to save an entire village that he's grown attached to in his few times there in her body. Because like he's grown to appreciate and love the area and some of the people in it, whether or not they like her in any incarnation, and he's trying his damnedest to make sure that as many people as possible come out alive in that situation.
Yeah.
The bits with him and Teshi planning out how to bomb the power plant are fucking hysterical.
Oh yeah, that shit. Love it.
We're gonna do pseudo acts of terrorism to set off an emergency alarm throughout the entire town to make everyone evacuate to the school, which is a safe distance, because they can't just say it's a comet outright. Because if they do, people are gonna think they're crazy. How can you know that? How can you be sure? Something like that's never happened before. It's a blink and you miss it, but they actually do explain in one of the that Teshi found in a history book that the comet, that the same or a similar comet actually split and crashed.
1,000 years ago or something like that.
It was 1,200 years ago, and that was what formed the plateau where they left the sake in the first place.
The exact same time, or the exact last time that the comet actually passed by the Earth too. So no, I definitely caught that one. I'm like, so is this comet just like taking a shit on the Earth every time it swings by or something? That's my guess, but yeah, no, that was not lost on me.
I guess that comet just really hates Japan.
Apparently, especially fuck this lake in particular.
Uh,
The entire scene with trying to get it together was gold, though, and then the dad happened,
the dad is he's an unlikable character, but I'm not going to say I blame him necessarily for his actions for why he turned into a douchebag. Because
and yeah, he's not unjustified, really.
it's like he hit. Like I understand that he probably loves his daughter, but he also thinks that his daughter is young and what she's talking about. I get that, and I understand, and I don't blame him for what it is for how he became the way he was. Because you find out in some of the flashbacks and later on in the movie, they show some flashbacks of like Mitsuha being born, and then of Mitsuha and the father standing at the bedside as Yotsuha's born, and then a couple of years later when their mother dies, and then a little bit after that, where he says, where he's talking to the grandmother and they're having a fight, and it's like, I didn't love the shrine, I loved her, I loved your daughter, and the grandmother is like, get out, you have no right to be here anymore. Your daughters are no longer your daughters. I will take care of them. So he's lost everything. He's lost his family. He's lost his wife. He's sort of lost his daughters. He has nothing to hold on to anymore. So him being hardened, being kind of a jackass. There are other ways to go about it, but I believe he's justified in the way he lives.
Yeah, I think the election campaigns are really the only thing he has left to him, and his job as a mayor.
Because like it wasn't entirely working out the way he'd liked, but like he did believe that he could change the better.
Yeah.
Because like that was something that was going on earlier in the movie, was that they were trying to do a construction project or something, and so there was contractors or a demolition expert or something that he was getting donations from that was going to build something new, and so it's like he was trying to expand the town. He was trying to slightly modernize the town.
Yeah.
and that's where some of the pushback was, especially from the grandmother, but from some of the other locals and from some of the other kids. It was like they don't like her and they don't like him because he's trying to change the town, whereas she just wants to outright leave the town.
Yep.
Going back.
We're now at the 50-minute mark.
I'm sorry. It's just there's a lot to this movie, and compressing proper dialogue about this movie to even half of the movie's length is difficult in and of itself.
Yeah.
It
seems like something we should actually probably. It's something that if you were to want to truly grasp everything, you'd have to go through and watch multiple times because there is a lot of subtle nuances going on throughout it.
I was wanting to watch the movie both. We've already seen it in English, but I also did want to go back and watch it in Japanese, see if there were any more subtle differences, and because I want to see this movie from every angle, and I can say 100% that I'm going to watch this movie again in the future. I'm going to be buying it on Blu-ray when Funimation puts it out, but it's like I want to get this from every angle because there's so much to this movie, and I don't want to lose any of it. And
honestly, when Taylor comes over tomorrow, because it's Friday, I'm probably gonna show her the movie. Honestly, it won't be the English dub; it'll be the subbed version. But I think we can make do. I think it'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, and we have the sub version. It's just I've been wanting to watch it for like a week, but I've been so busy with work and with other stuff, and my birthday was a couple of days ago, so I've just been a little tight on time lately.
Yeah. No one's blaming you, man.
especially for a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
And we've got more to come.
Oh yeah. All right. Let's see. We'll talk about the explosion. I don't remember exactly what train of events happened actually to make it so that everyone actually did leave. Was it the power plant being blown up that convinced everyone to actually evacuate?
Yeah, because initially there was only 1 or 2 explosions, and then the next set of explosions were delayed. But there were there was somewhere between 3 and 5 more explosions afterwards, and they were just happening one after another after another. And it's like at this point, okay, there's too many. We can't calm people down. We have to force an evacuation. Not everyone's going to come, of course, but we have to get out as many people as we can because these explosions are visible. People can see them. People can hear them. You're not going to be able to cover that up. So he's like, yeah, fine, we'll do the evacuation.
Yeah. Oh, I actually want to go back a little bit to something that actually did happen earlier that I actually thought was really cool. How Mitsuha and Taki actually met face-to-face for the first time.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that event by itself, but how they actually explained it happening with the whole magic hour thing happening between around sunset to actually full-on sunset. I thought that was really clever because they mentioned it at least once or twice throughout the movie, and I thought it was a really clever way of actually implementing it. Yeah,
that's another great great bit of foreshadowing. It's because they talk about that in the class with the teacher once or twice. I think at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, that was the only time I really caught them mentioning it. But the fact that they actually went through and used it for something, well. We already have people fucking time traveling through each other's bodies anyway, so at that point, nothing's really too far-fetched.
I gotta be honest, actually, I forgot what exactly drove her to go back up to the where the sake was because Taki at least knew about that, where that was, etc. How that was there, hoping that he could find something there, but I don't remember what drove her to go up there.
I want to say they actually went up to the cliff respectively in each other's opposite bodies, and Mitsuha just happened to wake up in Taki's body, who was lying unconscious in that cave.
Oh yeah. I think it was they woke up in each other. They woke up
and they were running around the side of the cliff, and they couldn't find each other until they were literally standing in front of each other.
That's because again they're in different times. It wasn't until they actually perfectly hit twilight, as it were. That they actually finally realized that they were there.
Yeah, they still hurt each other though. That was the amazing part.
Sound travels a great distance when there's nothing blocking it.
Apparently, you can pseudo time travel when it's almost sunset.
I've seen dumber time travel.
I would say this is time travel. This is like fucking Majora's Mask level time travel. But
Yes.
anyway, fast forwarding a bit, they managed to actually successfully save the town. Shit's good. I don't remember how Mitsuha or no, how Taki actually got home after that. I guess he just forgot, woke up, and he's like, I'm gonna go home now and fuck it.
Well, that was like he remembered that he came here for a purpose, but he couldn't remember what that purpose was. So what ended up happening was before he went there in the first place at night. He left a note for the people with him. It's like he apologizes for what happened for dragging them out there. That they can just leave and that he'll be back tomorrow or the day after that or something. He'll be back within the next 2 days, and I assume he just took a train back, walked
Yeah, probably it.
walked about 4 city lengths to the nearest train.
That must have been a fun endeavor.
But the thing you have to remember is Japan is not really all that big. It's a good distance, but it's not nearly as big as some people think, and it's smaller than a lot of states actually.
I know it's not feasible to get from one end to the other in just a day.
Yeah, but
We're going lengthwise. It might only take like 6 hour drive one way. How's that's Conrad about that?
I forgot he's been or he's from.
Yeah.
So what's
Yeah, you were saying?
so what I thought was I'm mixed on whether or not I love or I hate this is when they finally do meet each other and they're like, let's write down each other's names so that we don't forget what they are. And it's like I know it's supposed to be sweet and romantic, but when he writes in her hand, she doesn't see it until like several minutes later because she's already forgotten about it by the time he disappears.
Yeah.
It's like instead of writing his name, it's clever, it's cute, I get that, but it's like it kind of bugs me. It's like he doesn't write his name down, he just writes "I love you."
That doesn't help.
Yeah,
I actually got a good kick out of that. I'm not gonna lie.
that doesn't help me at all. uh,
And then we actually did get to see the comet full on colliding with the town, as opposed to just like zooming in on Mitsuha's eye. I thought I was like, holy shit. I knew this was big, but the fact we actually get to see it, oh my god, yes please.
what's really funny though is that the first time they show it like half an hour earlier, they show the comet, they show her looking at it, and then it cuts to the future. But when you see the comet right before it cuts, it makes the clanking iron sound. It's like, wait, is something gonna? Oh, clever bitch.
Yep.
Because you hear that clanking iron sound like 3 or 4 times throughout the movie.
Yeah. I actually didn't quite pick up on that sound cue. That's actually pretty clever.
You know, because you've been talking about it so much lately, the first thing that came to mind when I heard that clanking sound was Berserk 2016.
The rabbit.
I think it might actually be the same sound.
That would be hilarious, but I'm not gonna go immediately check right now.
I think it just might be a stock clanging sound.
Maybe.
What's funny about this movie though is that for a series as it is, you get more than a few scenes worth of fan service, like more than you might expect, more than just the waking up bits.
Yeah.
And it's like that's cool, that's neat. I get that, but it's like it seems I could be the odd one out here, but I feel like that's more distracting than attractive right now.
Yeah.
Because
nothing in that regard ever happened that felt like it broke the immersion, but I can see where you're coming from with that.
But there's some scenes like one of them earlier on is meant to be funny because like there's the bit where she's playing basketball and I don't think she remembered to put on a bra or something, so she's bouncing out all over the place, and so all the guys are staring at her and whatnot, and I think she might have been playing basketball in the skirt, which jumping, and there's another bit later on where it's like where she's biking up the hill and then down the hill, and it's like because of the way the camera is angled, like every couple of seconds, as you would normally, because again she's still wearing a skirt. Every couple of seconds, you see her panties while she's riding the bike, and it's like, okay, it's like I know it's probably not intentional, probably meant to actually be relatively realistic, but it's like this is kind of distracting me. I don't know. I probably am the odd one out.
I don't know. I don't immediately remember that offhand, so maybe it definitely didn't bother me because I don't even remember it. So I don't know. If I watch it again and after you mentioned it and I notice it, I'm like, yeah, okay, then I'll probably be wary of it. But yeah,
It's something I'm sort of weird about. It's like if you're gonna have fans, either you can do it one of two ways. You can either be classy or you can go all out. In some cases, if you're somewhere in between, I find it's actually more distracting than entertaining.
hmm. Hmm.
But so the whole thing with her trying to get people out and her two friends helping it's gut wrenching. It's like it's coming. You know these people are old and traditional and very old. So they're also probably going to be very stubborn. The grandmother
I think the
especially.
bigger thing, I think the bigger thing that was actually going in the back of my mind was how is time travel going to actually allow you to is it allow you to actually be able to change the timeline? That was my bigger question at that point, really.
Uh,
Because at that point I wasn't entirely certain. I was a little worried actually it was going to be set in stone, or that Mizuha herself was the only one that was actually going to survive. But then later in the movie, it turns out everyone did survive. I'm like, oh, cool, we actually did go that route.
so what you're wondering is it like a split multiversal thing, or do you think you were thinking it would have been like Monica Magica, where Homer went back in time like 7 times before she actually got it right?
I was thinking that he would. I was thinking it was kind of something more like this is a weird analogy, but more like Assassin's Creed, where he's like kind of reliving the past, and he's only having a slight influence over it. So I wasn't certain if like the comet's weird power over like switching bodies would actually allow you to alter actual past events. That's what I was wondering about, and then later on in the movie, it turns out I was like, oh, hey, cool, it can, sweet.
What's weird about the comet though is that when the first couple of times you see it when it splits, you see it only split off a singular small piece. But when they show it for the third or fourth time, you see it actually splitting into like 6 or 7 pieces, and like only one actually hits Japan. But it's like those other ones are eventually going to fall too. Are they going to hit? Are they going to just land in the ocean, or are they going to hit like other countries? I didn't realize that's probably not important, but it's something that was running through the back of my mind. One of,
Where you talk about like seeing the total fallout from the actual meteor or comet strikes.
Yeah, because it's like again, it didn't just break into 2 pieces. It broke into like 6 or 7, like a bunch of different pieces broke off. Did they hit?
Yeah.
Did they hit other pieces of Japan? Did they hit other countries? Did they just fall? Did they just crash into the ocean?
Well, it's funny you mention that because I distinctly I was making this a point to distinctly listen to every single news broadcast that was going on and keep it in mind for later. And one of the news broadcasters actually openly said while Taki was originally in the past watching the shit fall, was the chances of it hitting a populated area is extremely small. So I don't know. I think that was kind of covering its tracks a little bit.
I mean, I get that though, but it's like that's far from the best way you could have gone about that.
Yeah. Well, also with how isolated the area was, I'm not sure if it actually would have actually made contact, but I have no like citations for that whatsoever.
I realize it's not something we're supposed to focus on, but it still seems like kind of a loose end.
If there are any other, well, there's probably not gonna be any rocks falling at anyone nearly as big as the one that hit that town.
This is probably true.
Yeah, I mean, you look up at it, and it literally does look like the fucking meteor materia, fragments and everything.
Yeah, something like that. It really kind of hits you in your gut when you actually see the comet land. When you see just how quickly and how vast, how widespread that destruction was.
Yeah.
Anything that was just seeing all the water in the lake and underneath all those bridges just go flying off, and just seeing everything be obliterated was just it kind of takes the it takes the wind out of you.
Yeah, it really does.
Like you need to.
I was wondering why the hell it exploded, but yeah, no.
It's something where it's like you need to sit back for a minute and breathe that in.
Yeah, more or less.
Seeing it actually happen in pseudo real time, seeing all these people, especially the people you actually know and care about, just die.
Yep. There were no actual deaths to be had in this movie, though, or at least none shown on screen that are major.
None of them
No one
matter.
getting gored yet. That would have been a whole different movie altogether.
Dude, just imagine if they did show someone getting their face melted off.
Look at that. 3 tonal shifts in one movie. Impressive.
uh,
Yeah, anyway, we should probably be wrapping this up in a little bit, actually.
okay. But so after, but so they see, but so they, God damn it. So after they, so the whole time when it's, when he's trying to save the town, and you never actually, you see the comet hit, but you never see the aftermath of that. You never see anything from or in the town again. And after that, it cuts to the future. It cuts to 8 years later, from the point of the comet, to Taki, who does not know why, but has suddenly become or wants to become an architect because he wants to build a as in a word, stronger city, something with a greater foundation, just something more durable, something that would be able to withstand the impact of, I'm not going to say a meteor or something, but just something that will stand the test of time. So that
Gotta be wary of those celestial bodies.
I'm gonna use a smaller example, like say a bomb threat or something, like a building that could withstand a bomb threat or something that's reinforced.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna go bigger and say you never know when the fucking moon's gonna crash.
Because it's like as far as I remember, it was he heard about the incident, he knew what it was, but he didn't know anyone from it. So it's like he wants to make sure that nothing like that incident could ever happen again.
Yeah. And he knew that he was obsessed with it because he had all the drawings of the place and all the records he was sifting through. So he knew he was obsessed with it, but he didn't know why. So I did find that really cool, but maybe I'm in the minority with thinking that end scene might have gone on a little too long, maybe?
Yeah, because that scene went on for, I want to say, from the moment it cuts back to him in the future, I think it goes on for like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, I want to say somewhere 7+ minutes for sure. And I'm just like, okay, we know she's in the same city and we know he's looking for her, but I love how they flat out like walk past each other once. They see each other on the train once, and they openly like they don't know each other, but they definitely visually recognize each other to the point they like severely react, and then eventually they see each other again. I'm just like, okay, we got it. You don't have to keep dancing around the point. Just get to it.
Well, the thing with the train is that they're on 2 trains going opposite directions.
Yeah,
that's a little hard. That is going to be a little hard to catch up to.
I meant more in the fact that the final time they actually met up, they walked past each other again. I'm just like, you two visually not recognized, but like react to each other quite significantly. So you think you just immediately be like, hey, do I know you? Instead of just meekly walking by each other once more just to cock tease the audience. Someone's like, can we not?
Because again, the thing is, they don't entirely know, and it's like they don't want to make that mistake because again, Mitsuha has already made that mistake. Because there's another flashback in the movie where it's like at some point before the comet does strike, she does go to the city. She does try to go to meet him, and she does see him on a train. She talks to him, and she gives him the thread, but she gives him the thread, but nothing ever comes of it because it's like he doesn't know who she is. And see, that's the weird thing is, say what you will about how Japanese age, but she's 3 years older than him, and she was like a freshman in high school, I think, which means he would have been in elementary school. He would have been like 12, and she's like 15 or 16, and she wants to go and fall in love with a 12-year-old.
I didn't know she was older, actually. Huh.
Well, no, because the thing is, like, he is in high school in the present, and she's in high school in the past.
Yeah.
So there's a clear time gap. Clear age gap.
I just thought that at that point, well, I don't know. I assume they actually were probably roughly the same age because they were both going to high school in their respective times, and I don't know. Yeah, they could have probably done a little bit more to make him look visually distinctly different back in the past, but I'm not entirely certain.
Well, again, that's the thing. If she's of high school age 3 years ago and he's of a high school age now, she's inherently older than him.
Yeah.
And that's another thing is, again, say what else you'll say about Japanese aging, but like the only thing, like she does look distinctly different when you see her as an adult. He's like a little bit taller. He is a little bit wider shoulders, and his hair is a little taller. I'm sorry, a little longer. There's not much else. There's like virtually nothing different about him. On the other hand, Mitsuha looks like a completely different person. Different hairstyle, different sense of fashion, different everything.
Yeah.
So
Well, I imagine that moving into a city from the country would have that effect, but yeah.
So that's what I'm getting at, and so that's why I can sort of understand at least a little bit that maybe he wouldn't be able to recognize her if she looks that drastically different, especially if the person that he keeps fantasizing about is a teenager versus an actual full grown adult.
Yeah. I'm not gonna grab about that too much.
Well, I'm not. I'm just saying it's like it makes a little sense why at the very least he wouldn't be able to recognize her at least a little bit.
Yeah.
But when it finally does, come to a halt, and they're walking past each other, and it's like he's the first one to look to turn back and ask if he knows her, if they know each other, and then the movie just bookends on them asking each other your name.
Yeah.
I know this was kind of slapdashed and all over the place and ridiculous sounding, and also doing a disservice to the movie, but again, it's really hard to put into words because there's so much going on in this movie in so little time, and you need to see it to believe it, to experience it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we kind of did talk about general impressions for the first half hour, and then we're breaking out the spoiler territory for about the last 45 minutes.
Again, it's hard to quantify it.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I wasn't expecting too terribly much. I thought it was I'm not one to buy into hype trains. I don't know if I've given that impression or not. But yeah, no, I was like, damn, this is one of the few things in anime that actually does live up to the hype. Holy fuck.
Well, see, the thing with me is that a year ago or a little while ago, I'm not entirely sure I would have been that interested either. Like I heard it was a good movie. I saw the trailer and I thought it was gonna look cool. I think the main reason for me, and this still continues now and into next week, is that I've been on a kick this year of being able to see anime movies in theaters. And so if any chance I get to, I'm going to take it. Back in January, we saw One Piece Film Gold in theaters, which was great. In January, I also saw Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Side of Dimensions, which was only all right. And I saw this, which was fantastic. And next week, we're going to go see the Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress movie duology in theaters too, and I'm super excited for that. I think at this point, if there's ever a chance for an anime I like or am familiar with, or I'm willing to give a chance, if it ever comes to theaters for any reason at all, I'm going to take that opportunity to see it, because in this 1 year alone, I've already seen more movies in theaters than I've probably seen in the last 3 or 4 years combined.
Yeah, there's definitely Funimation is definitely going. Well, not just Funimation in general, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Anime companies are definitely going on board with the theatrical releases of anime movies as of late. I think, no, that's just me, but I'd be willing to bet that Battle of Gods in America and Your Name in Japan have kind of swung the doors open on that notion, and that you can still be really fucking profitable on theatrical releases if it's good enough and you market it well enough. So I imagine that's why it's definitely hitting the forefront right now.
See, that's the thing, is I don't know if it's still true, but a couple of weeks after launch, it was made public that Battle of Gods reached, I think it was number 8 or 9 of top selling anime movies in America in theaters of all time. Ranking up with the original Pokemon movies, with the Yu-Gi-Oh movie, Digimon movies, and especially with Ghibli movies. I think the highest still is Pokemon, the first movie or the second movie. But it's like the fact that this movie that was originally planned to only be in theaters for 2 days was able to breach that as quickly as it does is amazing. It's trend-setting, and Resurrection F he did even better than that. And that's
it was in theaters for probably a month, I'd be willing to bet, or if not a month, it had 2 weeks worth of showings you could choose from, as opposed to being a weekend thing.
Yeah, And that's important because that showed both Funimation as well as other companies that they could do theatrical screenings of anime movies, and that it would sell. That it could do just as well as other movies, or even do as well as it did in Japan. And other examples, I don't know how well it did, but the recent Digimon Try movies have been doing pretty well, I heard, and other stuff is happening. Other stuff that I wasn't. I think I heard that the Monaco movies and that the Monogatari movies did well. It's a couple of years old now, but I think they're actually going to be screening the Eureka 7 movies in theaters.
Interesting.
So it's like things like this have blown open the door for anime movies to come back into theaters, and I am more excited than I ever have been for movies before to actually see movies in the theaters.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna be getting pretty good uses out of my Harkins cups we have over here. If I manage to get that job interview secured at Cinemark and I can get hired there, then fuck, free movies.
I think some of these are promotional for Harkins. Your Name is Harkins only. Cabaneri is also Harkins only.
That's a shame, but well.
Yeah. Harkins 16 is still a pretty good theater, especially when you get this. Especially when you're lucky and they give you the Cine Capri.
Definitely, yeah. Man, it's been forever since I've been in that theater.
I think the last.
Anyway, so what?
Go ahead.
So I was actually about to go for closing thoughts on this movie, but you guys have to say first before we get to that.
I was gonna say I think the last movie I saw in the Cine Capri was either Toy Story 3 or Harry Potter 7.
I honestly don't remember the last time I've been to Cine Capri. I want to say it was probably the last Pirates of the Caribbean movie that came out, the fourth one.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was a while ago, dude.
At any rate.
Yeah, so I think I'll go first because I don't have as much to say. Again, I'm not into the whole comedic romance genre, but this definitely put a good spin on it for me, and I was enraptured with the characters, so I definitely thought it was fucking great. As well as the art. I haven't mentioned too much about the art style yet, but god damn is it good.
This is a visual masterpiece.
It really is. I'm thoroughly impressed that in time for a cheesy liner. In a current day and age where anime is veering more towards 3D animation to subsidize for a money cost, this movie seems to break the bar. I'm sorry, I felt it coming on. I was like, I have to do it. I have to fucking do it. And I killed Brandon. my cheesy as fuck voice did it. But yeah, no, it's definitely go to see this movie. It's really worth the trip.
Yeah, I know I said it at the beginning, but I'll say it again. If you can see it, if you have ever had the chance to see this movie in theaters, see it, do it absolutely. If not, buy it on Blu-ray. At the very least, buy it on Blu-ray. This movie deserves to be seen in the best possible quality that you can offer it. This movie, on a visual level alone, deserves to be seen. Yeah,
it's a goddamn spectacle. I never saw. Okay, so dumb story. I've never saw Avatar in fucking theaters when it was in IMAX and shit, and people were raving about it. But imagine this is as close as I'm gonna get to an experience like that with sheer visual fidelity on a big screen. Like, my god.
Yeah. It needs to be seen. It needs to be experienced. I'm not entirely going to say that this is going to be this is going to be a story for the ages, but this movie is going to live on for years, maybe decades. But this movie is going to stay with people for a very long time. And if you can see it, you should see it. It's a must.
Definitely, yeah.
If I were to give it a score, I would give it a 9.5.
Yeah. Okay, see you next week. Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress.
Bye.
Buh.